not going rogue and I'm totally winging this at this point. So I had a presentation prepared and kind of a dialogue conversation to have with you guys. But since it's such a small group, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. So I'm going to bang through my slides really quick, and then I want to open up to a discussion. So first of all, I'm Hazel Pace. I'm the engineering manager for the Public Works Department. And you're probably asking, why is an engineer talking to you about recreation at Shady Rest? We'll circle back to that. Okay, so I'm going to quickly talk about the summit process and our expectations of this whole meeting, a series of meetings. A little bit of park information, some of the winter and summer uses, our operations that we currently conduct out there, some of the opportunities that we see, and then ultimately we'll get down to distill it down to public conversation. So this is what's really important, and I don't know if in the previous conversation you went through this. This is what's driving all of these meetings, is this process. Prior to today, we held some stakeholder meetings with the Forest Service, some of our partners, to discuss operations out of Shady Rest. We're getting some, collecting some data, some talking points, some information, what we can do better, but working strictly with that stakeholder group. Today is the summit. We want to talk to the public. We want to hear what's working, what's not working, what you guys are thinking, your feelings about the situation out there. And then we're going to distill that information. We're going to synthesize it. And then we're going to have another stakeholder meeting and talk about what we need to do to improve things. We'll bring that back through another public forum, whether it's a trails meeting or a public hearing, depending on how in depth we get in it. But ultimately, we're leading towards implementation. The goal of every single one of these tracks is to either inform a Forest Service operational change, a decision by the town council to improve infrastructure. It may be an amendment to the trail system master plan to incorporate things we didn't foresee, like path biking. So we have goals for this process. So everyone knows where Shady Rest is. It's 12.5 acres. I put that up there because it's really interesting. You'll see why. We always look at the park and the size of the park, but in wintertime, that doesn't matter. The entire park and all the areas around it are under Forest Service permit. Everything we do, all of our operations are permitted through the Forest Service. Anything we change, modify, we need to seek their approval first. It is the most used town park in the summertime. However, not so much. Our seasons are typically May through November for summer, and November through May for winter. And obviously there's a transition and it varies from year to year. Summer uses, simply playgrounds, restrooms, skate park, soccer fields, softball fields, volleyball courts. There's tons of pedestrian activity, people walking their dogs, running around the park. It is heavily used. And there's about 200 parking spaces out there to facilitate that. The current focused winter uses, and I'm not going to get off on the fringe, but the major components are the groomed Nordic trails, the OSV staging, and snow play, as it is defined in the trail system master plan. But we don't really see a lot of it out there.
I noticed on the summer uses you can put biking on the path.
No, I didn't. I'm just...
Okay, you're just, okay. So when you say the 12 acres, are you talking about the park that we think of as the actual park in the summertime?
I'll get to that. I'll come full circle on that concept. When we think of the park, we have a notion of what that means. And it doesn't translate for winter use. Here's our Nordic system map. And I'm going to tell a story about this map at the end when I start this conversation about the public and get your input. But you'll notice, here's our system. Where's Shady Rest Park?
Over under system.
It's not on the map. I copied this from our current winter recreation map. This is just the cutout of Shady Rest Park. Where's the park?
And it's that little orange thing.
So we have 12.5 acres of park. What are we selling that doesn't exist on any of our maps? We are not selling that park. We are not promoting that park. We are not providing access to that park for our visitors and our residents.
It's not even on there.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see it.
Now you see why I put that in there.
The road is.
The road is, the staging is. Look how accurately we depict where to start your Nordic skiing adventure.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Took me a while to figure it out.
You and me both. So operations, what are we currently doing out there? We are clearing the road out to the park, and we are creating the turnaround. That is under contract with Chuck Villar. The Town of Mammoth Lakes doesn't actually do that operation, but we do manage it. The grooming operations are under contract with Friends of the Indian. They go go out there, ask whether it allows, and groom the trail system. We currently have no pedestrian access or transit. The purple line does run out to the visitor center, but it does not go to the park.
That junk, for lack of a better term, that's gonna be out there.
I picked this up. I went back to the trail system master plan last week and started looking at Shady Rest. And this caught my attention. Back in 2004, they did a need survey. And the idea was to replicate the summer sense of community in the wintertime. Well, we've got 2 uses out there, so I don't think we've quite captured that. Through some of our previous conversations, we've identified some opportunities. Winter restrooms, we currently don't have bathrooms out there for any of our activities. Signage is inadequate for winter use. We could do improved Nordic parking and access. The Forest Service had some issues with the operations as they are right now, simply providing pedestrian access. And improved OSB staging. Okay? So, like I said, I was going to knock through these slides very quickly since we have a small group. So I'm going to jump into discussion. And I have a couple just maps and so forth that we can talk about. So I had planned to, I didn't know how many people I would have here, so I want to try to generate some conversation. So I'm going to tell a story about my first Nordic experience. I've been strictly a downhill skier, and I'm also an avid runner. So my wife talked me into buying a Nordic setup this winter. And I've never done it before, and so I decided to take the tourist route. I got my gear, I got in my truck, I drove to the visitor center, I got this map, and I couldn't figure out where to start. And it just snowed, there were hardly any tracks out there, and I sat in my car and I got on my phone, I'm like, okay, how would I do this? And as I'm sitting there, a woman came and knocked on my door. And she's like, I can't help but notice you have skis on your car, and I'm trying to find out where to go. And we should really talk to somebody, who works for the town. And I'm like, yeah, we probably should. So it was a little embarrassing, but it was the truth. It's not signed. And speaking with the Forest Service, they have issues with people parking in their lower lot, in their upper lot, and kind of haphazardly accessing the system. So this is an issue that I wanted to bring to the public and say, what can we do to make that better? Everyone's been out there, they have their own ideas, but I want to hear from you, what can we do to fix that? The other story I was going to tell is early in the season, before we even started talking about having the summit process, we realized that now we have snow, people are going to forget how to park out at the staging area. So I made it a point to go out there on numerous occasions and just kind of document what was happening. And on one occasion, I was on my way to the hill, and it was packed. And I just, full ski gear, pull up in my truck, right in the middle of the parking lot, I get out and just start taking photographs. And 2 guys just took offense to that. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I collect photographs of people who park in front of no parking signs. And they just, what do you mean? And they realized that every single car was sitting in front of a no parking sign. And I said, well, don't worry about it. I'm not a cop, but what I am is an engineer, and I'm trying to figure out how to make this work better for you guys. So we had a pretty good conversation out there, and a couple other people joined in, and we talked about the deficiencies in the parking lot. So I'm interested, I don't know if we have any over snow folks here, but I'm interested to hear what we could do better to improve that lot, improve access. And I have some of their thoughts from that group I talked to share. So those are 2 stories. So with that, what are the goals today? Back to this whole process. I want to get input from you guys so that we can make improvements to our current operations. I want to hear about what's new and what's changed. Obviously, the big one is fat biking. That one wasn't even on the radar when the trail system master plan was written, and it's just come on strong. I also want to hear what you guys are doing out there that may be different that we're not supporting, or what you think we should be doing for our visitors to support their activities. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to you guys.
There's a trailhead sign, it's one of our wayfinding signs right there by the pathway that goes to the ranger station and the visitor center. I don't know if it's called a trailhead, whichever one it is. But you're right, it's wintertime, it should say something about go this way. Is the Forest Service now saying that they don't want us down in the lower lot? Because they used to say they prefer to have us park down in the lower lot.
You know, I don't think they really know.
Oh, okay.
They kind of articulated to me that they had issues because they park their vehicles down there.
Yeah,
They
but
wanna
they don't use the whole place.
No, and there's kind of this, they want to keep the lot secured for their vehicles and they want to have people, but at the same time, they want them up. So I think what we need to do as a community is tell them what we should be doing. This is what's best for our visitors and our residents.
Well, for the visitors, I would suggest that it's something on that sign or a winter hang-on addition that either directs them to where it starts or into the visitor center to get the map, and that the map does show you start here or you are here, rather than the cute little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you go in there, most of those people know exactly how the whole trail system works.
Once you get out there, it's
Yeah.
not too bad. But how do you feel about the signage program as a whole?
Well, actually, in fact, I ended up sending, I should probably sent you out there to do it, Casey, but I ended up, when we were getting a lot of snow in January, I was out there, the current height of the little map signs, they were almost buried in the snow, so I said, you know, you need to erase these. I think once you're on it, those make sense, but you're right. Finding that entrance, and sometimes it seems like they're not consistent about how they're grooming there around the old auditorium and stuff. And I also noticed that if I think what the new Shady Loop goes through, which if that's supposed to be following the bike path that is really close to Sawmill Cup, they haven't been grooming it.
Right.
So I think it's clarifying everything that they're, you know, that if it's on the map, it should probably be groomed. And having a map that shows you as the visit, you know, as the Welcome Center or something, or a start here sign.
Does everybody access the groom trail from the visitor center? Or do some folks head out to the main part of the park?
I just drove till I found where to cross the road. Basically, I started it first time I went out there across from the kids' skateboard area.
Okay, so you went
'Cause and I drove over and I was like, oh, okay, there it is right there. And I just kept going around, which would be at the top of your map. And then I basically just beelined it into the woods till I could find it. And then I kind of did it. And the second time I went to the visitor center and it took me a while.
Well, it depends on the snow too, because if the snow cover is thin, you know, where the path starts, like by the Welcome Center, you know, the path is melted out a long way. So when that happens, it's a lot easier to park.
Speaking from Friends Indio as the contractor grooming there, that section where the Forest Service has asked us to have a staging point is probably the worst spot for snowpack, like you were saying. Like, it's super tight right there. We get our grooming machines around, and it melts off pretty quick. Whereas if, like say we started off at the end right underneath the system on the map, the snowpack's a lot deeper, but that's where the Forest Service has said that's OSV staging area. So logistically for us, there have been those issues with snow melting off quicker in certain areas that are supposed to be the trailheads.
Which is if you also signed it from the lower parking lot, that's in the shade and down at the bottom, and it's almost always got snow there.
But that's, as far as that goes back to the
Yeah.
Forest Service, that's their administrative parking lot, which is clearly signed. And
No, all it says is
It's-
amphitheater.
yeah, it's like you were saying, it's a gray area.
Yeah.
How do you guys like the parking situation, how it directs you to the trailhead? Right when you pull in, you can see those signs that say Nordic skiing right there. That's pure sarcasm. It doesn't. Another big issue, we're not directing you from the start to where they need to go.
Well, and then I want to follow up with, you know, when you drove and you just saw it, there's a problem that the map doesn't tell you that you're going to have to take off your skis to cross the road if you want to do the Old Shady Lake
Yeah.
loop. You know, it looks like you're just going to go straight across.
That was a fun surprise from an engineering standpoint, to stop and look and go, okay, there's no signage that indicates that there is a crossing for pedestrians right here in the middle.
Oh, you mean for the people? Yeah.
No crosswalk.
Yeah, it's not technically.
And remember originally, that road wasn't plowed.
Oh, yeah.
So that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And also in the original plan for this, the old Shady Rest loop was supposed to be signed to encourage dog walkers and snowshoers to that side while the track was set on the new Shady side.
Right.
So the original plan actually worked better than today's plan.
But now that the road is plowed, there needs to be acknowledgement of that, like on the map.
Right.
If you put the trailhead back where it used to be for all users, some of those issues could be solved. It worked very well from that old trailhead where there was an actual signed spot right there, obvious, where the Nordic trail left from and where the motorized trail left from.
So what Bill's talking about is it used to be, as you first came in on Sawmill Cutoff, that area where they have, you enter the campground and they have the disposal station used to be the trailhead for everybody.
I always found it a lot easier to use both from snowmobile and cross country burner perspective. I do both, and sometimes I take my dogs out there, sometimes I take my son out there. Just trying to park at the new area, I just stopped going over to scenic route now, just because it's always so crazy to park. Yeah, so
One person parks this way, parallel, and then everybody follows, and they can't get a sled off a trailer. And
Right.
like it's, I mean, I know you can't probably paint the curb with asphalt so you get torn up by the clouds, but
We have some ideas on what we can do. We do need to expand it. The circulation doesn't work for vehicles with trailers. It's just too narrow.
it's not bad if they park right.
But it needs to be
Turn around,
expanded
just
to
pull
get
straight in, you're fine.
to get people to line up correctly. So we're looking at a couple different solutions to that we'd like to implement.
Does it still expect them to go off on that loop up in the dirt to make their turnaround?
I don't want it to be dirt, but yes,
I know,
we would
okay.
expand into that area.
Until someone parks there.
Yeah.
So the area we're talking about
Right.
is right here. This needs to be expanded to create enough turning movement. And then parking should be parallel stalls so that you drive in and then you drive out.
for that area, that's like, of all the OHV staging areas, that's the one that sees the most visitors who also have RVs and larger vehicles.
Right.
And so they have a really hard time accommodating that area. And I think whatever we put in needs to be more visitor-centric versus some of the other areas which are kind of more for locals, just because they're a little more hidden and sparse.
Hey, so one more thing about that. I found out something yesterday, or I was told something yesterday, that I didn't appreciate. The reason for us moving out there in the first place, regardless of what we're all told, was that Ormat wants to plow that road to reach their wellhead. And they were supposed to pay for that plowing, and the town was doing it and then billing it. I'm told now the town is picking up that plowing?
My understanding is we are the contractor and then we are billing them back.
Yeah, I would love to see that checked into, because I was told the town is not billing them back this year for that.
And I'm not in finance, so.
Yeah, I know. To me, it's a very important part. The old trailhead worked far better, and we didn't have to pay the tens of thousands of dollars necessary to plow the snow out there. I just thought I'd throw that into the mix.
Sure.
So I think it
Well,
worked
I
better.
think if CD4 actually goes forward, if they get their other gazillion wells, it's clear in the language that we saw in the EIR for it, that they pay for it.
Yeah, well, in meeting with them, I know they don't intend to pay for it forever, so.
It's a conversation on my end.
If it's in a mitigation document, then,
Then hopefully they have to, yes.
but of course, they haven't gone forward, so none of that is in place.
Right.
So before, just to discuss that.
Well, actually, this year they did. They are plowing several other roads besides Shady this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've noticed. So the road being kept open is something the Forest Service is definitely in favor of. They're not a fan of the staging area over by the dump site. They have their own reasons for it, so they're strongly in support of this location, and frankly, they wanted to move it further down the road, which I don't think personally really balances the recreation opportunities for visitors and guests. I think while this may not be perfect, having the road plowed does open up for other opportunities for people who just want to get to the park and maybe walk their dog or build a snowman or just do something else.
So, being our expert engineer, that you think that there'd be a way to sign it like they do in Bridgeport to show people how to do that backing,
Yeah.
diagonal parking and things like that, and that you could give them a
It's a combination
reasonable
of,
turnaround?
we'd have to expand the turnaround area to meet the turning movements. we'd have to manage that. You have to kind of go out there and tell people, and some enforcement would be necessary. And a giant sign that tells them how to do it would be definitely helpful. And maybe we're painting, you know, with just some blue paint like they do in the ski area on the snow and saying, here's the parking areas. We go up there after the snowstorm and kind of delineate that until
Or you
we.
can contract with friends in here while they're going by on the loops, right?
Sure, but you have to train the public. If we don't start it off the bat, they're just going to kind of do whatever they're comfortable with. If we train them, then they'll start to self-police. You're blocking me in, please move over here. So, but that's just a process that we would have to do.
So I'm a little confused. Are you saying that the staging area now would be both for over-snow vehicles and Nordic? That's the preferred use?
Currently, the over snow is staged right here. The staging for Nordic is right by the visitor center right here.
But where they don't want us to park?
No, they haven't said that. They haven't given us clear direction on where they'd like it to be in the upper or the lower lot. That's just something.
Okay, so the parking lot's available, it's just
Absolutely.
there.
But
But
there's
it's not like the idea of the lower lot.
There is nothing that would stop you from staging right here to jump on the Nordic system.
And many people do.
Yes.
Right, but the original plan was to separate the two trailheads for a variety of reasons. So I just wanted to be clear that the plan isn't to look at one.
No, there isn't any change to plans. All the we're not reinventing the wheel through this process. You know, we have our trail system master plan, our ped plans, our bike plans. We're not rehashing those here today. We're just trying to find out what we can do better, what deficiencies we can fill.
You know, you also, you know, if you're talking about some kind of a wintertime addition to whatever the monument sign is there, you should probably also have one out there before, so people know they're supposed to turn in there for the Nordic, and one up at the sawmill with the snowmobile goes, you know.
Sure.
Because it's not marked on Main Street 395 either.
So I'm going to change gears because we had the fat bike conversation earlier, and I know there is serious interest in fat biking in this area. So, fat bikers, where would you stage? Where would you park?
I'd ride my bike there.
Feet first, I like it.
Yeah, so I would be, honestly, I would be riding that little, I would want to ride that single track and ride out old, you know, where the little old loop is, because I come in right by the ranger station, crossing the, you know, like loose.
If you're a tourist, you're confused.
You're very
You're
confused.
confused because either parking lot works, but which one's best, the easiest, because what you're saying, dirt, doesn't matter, you ride your bike over dirt. But you just need to have a sign area, a designated trailhead, and then they can get through, like I said, dirt, snow, doesn't matter, asphalt, cross over asphalt. Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
would you possibly had gone on the piece that goes under 395 or come down a little part that goes across the neat little bridge there? Would you be heading towards the Welcome Center if you were riding yourself there as a tourist?
Well, right now, you wouldn't go under because it's in winter, it's like full of snow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even think it got much this
Well,
year.
yeah,
but,
it's
you know,
true,
yeah.
that's what we tried to.
Because we always hoped we were going to be able to ski through there, and it's never happened.
We've done some riding on the lower part, but it actually
Uh-huh.
snows, and actually going under there.
Yeah.
But most people just ride, like, the light there at Main Street and Old Mammoth Road, you know, use the road, because the road's the easiest, on a bike, you ride on the road, it's the easiest access point.
But even
If
for
you
the
could get-
summer,
yeah.
I've been here 5 years, my name's Joe Peckham. And I love to ride, and I know where I'm at, I'm pretty smart guy. But I live in a tourist town where the tourist dollars what drives this place. And I notice you guys have all these signs that have bikes and arrows, and they're all over. And I know a lot of it goes out into the forestry stuff too, but obviously it starts in your park. You have a campground for people with motor homes and stuff like that, and you sport that during the summer. Those people don't know where they're going. When they walk up to a tree and see 5 arrows, they don't know if that's, you know, is that Bill's Loop? Is it Smith Loop? Is it 5 miles? Is it 15 miles? Am I going to get stranded somewhere? Is this for my mom? So there's no real map for any of that. And it's, you know, I don't really know how to tell people where to go ride.
Well, the maps
Shady
for
Rest.
that are in the visitor center.
but they're not.
It's still
like,
very hard
you
because you
can't
have,
tell, they're not maps really.
you
They're
have,
kind of
you have,
useless.
in the summertime, you have the thousands of
Experience
roads.
level.
Yeah.
Right, and you
It's-
can't tell somebody
Oh,
to go
no.
down 3D 5H 70. Oh, did that have an and in it, or was that a set all of a sudden because I had dirt in my eye and a little sweat on my goggle? So it's, you can't do that to forestry, especially when somebody already spent the time to go out and put those placards. And like I had to learn when I moved here too, I didn't know what, I think they're green and blue, so the cross country was like skate ski. And I definitely would love to ride my fat bike out there as well. But yeah, just nothing's, and it's not for me, it would be for the tourist who wants to come out and do something. There's no markings really to let you know, am I on the right path?
Well, having volunteered in that welcome center for many years, if you can get the tourists there who don't know where they're going, and you have the staff telling them where to start and things like that, you're going to be much better off with the ones who have no clue where to go.
For the first, it should not be something that you actually, just a regular park.
Yeah.
Parking down there.
And the reality, in the winter time, there are not that many visitors to the Welcome Center because everybody's on Main Street. They can see the mountain in front of them and they just keep going. I mean, it's
Oh,
literally
they don't look-
like 200 people a day versus 1,200 a day in the summer.
Once they get to the light,
Yeah,
then they start thinking and they don't notice everything before the
right.
light.
So that I think you, for the fat bikes, there's probably going to be more parking in the Welcome Center area, just because there's fewer people who actually go inside into the
Because I don't know about a lot of people now.
I'm riding my bike, people,
They come up from LA with fat bikes and they're riding up in Rock Creek. They're riding up in the forestry line. And it's sad, but they told me like, it's all we got. I rode my road bike the other day and there was two guys there. And they're like, yeah, we come up on the weekends to ride on snow. Because they don't know of anything in Mammoth, because nobody, you know, even myself, I'm like, I don't know anywhere to go. 'Cause there's nothing
You have the
legally, and I don't want to get
trails,
rid of
the trails down there.
I think the winter trails?
Yeah. Has that biking up?
No, I
The
don't.
Forest Service, I can
John,
answer
is there
that.
biking mapping on mammothtrails.org?
The Forest Service has provisionally approved the inclusion of fat bike web pages on mammothtrails.org.
But that means no, right now, if I go to mammothtrails.org, I don't find.
They're not there yet, but they're in
Okay.
development, they will be there, but it's specific to the forest order that Alan talked about earlier. It's
Was it
there are
7 experiences?
7 different
We
experiences.
gave them 7 experiences,
Okay.
but they all are experiences that don't involve groomed trails, because obviously that's still illegal. So
Okay.
it's experiences like Sherman
But at
Street
least there'd be
Road.
something people can find.
Right,
However-
it's now showing that there's something, fat biking exists.
And you gotta realize it's like what we were talking about earlier. I ride my bike down there, but it's just packed because all the people have walked in on Shady, you know, or Sherwood Creek Road. Really, that's about it. It's only packed because of walkers, dogs, multi-use people. So it's not really, you would be bothered if you looked that up, drove up here, and then say it was a fresh snow day and it wasn't packed down, you go, oh, so now there is no riding, really. There's just that.
There's an opportunity, but it's not really
It's not
formalized, it's not
really-
maintained.
It's not maintained, so.
However, you're talking about potential staging for them out of, where would you put them? So, from my take on it, and having dealt with the trails, both motorized and non-motorized for years on the forest, I don't yet know what damage fat bikes will or won't do on a groomed trail, especially in cold. But it would seem to me the more logical staging would be out of the motorized area. And I'd love to see us open a section of trail as a test. I thought that was going to happen this year, but evidently it didn't.
Didn't get enough snow.
We had, okay.
We
I'll
got
go along with
we
that. But what I do know about those trails is that once track is set, a fat bike or even a dog walker can draw the ire of a cross-country skier when they're messing up the striding lanes. So it seems to me that the fat bike would be a better fit from the motorized staging area rather than from any place where we groom striding lanes.
So your contention is it's better to separate the Nordic
from the fat bikers instead of the
Well,
over snow vehicles.
Only because of the function of what they're looking for. So if you go out to Glass Creek, then I see no issue with the fat bike using those trails because we don't set striding lanes. But in New Shady, where the striding lanes are set, a fat bike crossing those is going to do damage to those. And if you're a mother and 4-year-old daughter going down the striding lane, that cut cross path is going to put your kid on their backside. So that just, having been involved in both, it seems to me that the more likely combination would be the motorized trails versus the non-motorized trails. Or not necessarily motorized, but mechanized. Who knows, maybe in 5 years I'll be riding an electric snowmobile. Those batteries are damn heavy, I doubt it. But, because you've got e-bikes, fat tire. I would own one today if I could afford one, really trek. But, so as those things move forward, I see it more as a mechanized, rather than risking the striding trails that we create out in the shade. And just my take on
See, I
it.
also
chime
see
in on that
myself
because-
as
So you're a skate skier here, right?
Yeah, I'm a prior Nordic skier, runner. I Nordic skied and raced all over the U.S. and the world. And all you gotta do is educate people about what you call striding lanes. It's classical skiing for those
Right.
that look like they're walking on skis, because most people don't really know how to classical ski. That's where you gotta educate the person that doesn't know on a fat bike how to ride over those. The rest of the skate lane, the fat bike is not going to do the damage the walker does. In softer snow, the walker is going to do way more damage. They put holes anywhere from a few inches to a foot deep or more. When a skate skier hits one of those, they can snap their ski. The fat bike, today, I rode 10 laps on the course today. And only at the very end did it get just a little bit soft enough to where it's like, okay, we need to stop this getting soft and you got to race to it.
Yeah, all what you're saying, though, you're right.
John, give me a
Yeah,
sec. John, give me a second, dude. I'll add on that real quick, because Bill, you weren't able to be at the fat bike presentation.
Right, I wanted to, believe me.
So just real quick, a big chunk of it, we were talking about the Nordic resorts now across the country that are allowing fat bikes. So these are paid resorts. They're charged with giving a pristine Nordic experience to their users. And Meadow Valley is one I talked about a lot. That's the largest Nordic resort in the country. And if they feel, and I wish I could pull back on my presentation, but they're basically saying that fat bikes make the same or less impact to a trail than skate skiers. No matter what the conditions, it's on a sliding scale. Conditions get softer and worse, skate skiers make worse. It's all the same. So basically, they're allowing fat bikes alongside skiers. They're just making etiquette restrictions. You have to have 3.5 inch tires or wider, 10 hillside or lower. Stay out of the classic tracks. Easy rules, etiquette. Don't ride your bike in the tracks. Stay to the right. You yield to every other user, and with that, they're having success. So I think there is potential to have fat bikes on both the snowmobile groomed trails and the public Nordic trails, especially with, like Mike said, post holders and walkers and hikers and snowshoers make way more impact than we do. And we have brakes, we have power to stop and control ourselves. Fat bikes don't go fast, they average 5.4 miles an hour, slower than your normal skate skier. As a skate skier / fat bikers, and you can attest to, they're faster on skis than they are on bikes. I just want to throw that in there because we did talk a lot about it before you came. I wish we can get together at some point and chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have that happen. There's always a perception thing that seems to drive. So from a perceptual standpoint, I know the fight we used to get into at the Glass Mountain because dogs weren't allowed out there because the striders were so, and yes, I can use a cross-country ski and I know how, because the ski public got so upset that there were dimples in the track. So I'm just saying philosophically, to avoid that argument up front to start, as a motorized representative to some degree, I have no problem with doing the trial thing out of the motorized staging area.
And I agree 100% with you about staging it at the motorized trailheads, because the type of experience that fat bikers want. We want to get out there.
I want to be
We want to
farther
get out farther.
out.
We want to
with you guys.
disperse ourselves. We don't want to be limited to the little 5K that's groomed for the Nordic.
Right.
It's better for everybody to disperse the user groups and spread out more. And we have that capability. 90 miles of snowmobile trail spreads you out a lot easier than this little 5K piece. So definitely agree with that.
That's what I was going to say.
Staging area, it's easier, I think, just to get both the Nordic and the OHV area from the OHV area, which is why you see more, everybody just kind of tries to cram into that one parking lot. And from a regulation standpoint, nobody's saying, well, you don't have a snowmobile, so you can't park here. But the other lot is, if you have a snowmobile, you can't park here. So it seems like bikes will be able to go anywhere or park, you know, it's not.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see overnight that you're going to get all these crowds coming up with 50 bike racks blocking a bunch of snowmobiles. But like I said, I'm going to ride from my house because I love riding my bike, you know, out there. So I think
I would say for the next few years, the rentals will be the majority of
of what we get out there extra.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on what Alan had mentioned, and being a Nordic skier and a cyclist, I too don't want to be limited to just the Nordic area that is typically and currently groomed for Nordic skiers. And so I feel like the resource that we have, the ability to connect Mammoth and June Lake and all those miles in between is an unbelievable resource. And it's really unusual to have that much real estate that is groomed and open to a variety of users. And for me, some things that would, I think, open it up to all users and Nordic skiers would be a better shared use of information. So for example, instead of having the grooming put online after it's done, to have some type of schedule posted so you could plan days in advance if you knew what trails were going to be groomed. And there's other areas. Tahoe, for example, on the North Shore of Tahoe, the Rim Trail has, you know, they have multiple users, and it's a high use area, especially off mountains. And they have shared use where on odd days, hikers use the trail, on even days, bikers use the trail. And now that we have an ever-growing and expanding user group, it'd be nice to somehow coordinate things where we could, you know, A, have better information on grooming, and also, you know, coordinate between all these different user groups. And I'd like to hear a discussion about something like Tahoe, where on different days you have different users, you know, it's open to different user groups.
Growing up my whole life, everything has been multi-use. If you can't stop and say hi to somebody, what are we doing? And so to me, knowing that I have, it's like the old gas crisis when you got an odd number you get to play today. I really believe that everybody should get along, and I have no problem whatever sport. Whether I'm walking, or hiking, or running, snowshoeing, or riding my bike, I have no problem stopping and saying hi to somebody because I'm not in a hurry.
Well, it has nothing to do with an inability to say hello or you know, get along with other user groups. It has to do with how can we make this an ideal experience for everybody.
Yeah, I just don't think you need to segregate data. I just think that's tough. Certain people can't get off to do their sport on that day. You know, I'm sure. You know,
Or if Saturday being the busy day is sometimes odd, sometimes,
Right.
yeah.
It's brave all the way from LA and just to find out it's not their day.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I know, it works well in other areas. And I'm sure there was the same type of opinion when this was probably originally suggested in some other areas. So,
We can definitely look into it. We can definitely follow up with those agencies and see how it's working for them and just get some general feedback. And, you know, we're going to synthesize all of these comments.
and for me, what would be the most important thing for me would be to have better access to information about when the grooming is going to take place.
And maybe, I don't know if everybody here knows, but there's a real-time trail on the Mammoth Trails website when the groomer's out.
Sure, and the real time is wonderful, but it doesn't allow you to necessarily plan a day or two in advance.
You know,
It's also helpful to your
real
sport.
quick,
I mean, you don't
that's
want to go
something
out
to
and
touch
be
on because again, we're bringing us back to fat biking, because fat biking relies so heavily on grooming conditions, snow setting up, that kind of stuff, that is really something to think about, because to fat bike responsibly, you need to do it when the snow's firm and best, and not be going out when it's soft. And so if there was some kind of grooming schedule, a fat biker could know, like, all right, they're grooming at 5 in the morning or something, so I know by 8 o'clock in the morning it'll be good to go, and or they groom them. I do see some good validity to that, and that's something to think about. But I also know how shady it is. It's like sometimes they just groom when they can groom. You can't even think that far ahead because Mother Nature's messing with you so much that you can't have a set grooming schedule, so there's got to be fluidity too. But it's definitely, at least from the fat biking side of things, would make life easier, because it's nice to know that you're going out and giving yourself the best experience possible, and also not possibly ruining the experience for other people.
Yeah, and I agree with that. The weather here is really going to dictate a lot of what we do and when we do it. Even if it was the night before, just having that information available. I would imagine on any given night before the groomer goes to bed, he or she probably has a pretty good idea of what next day's plan is.
I've sat in a number of stakeholder meetings prior to this summit, and I can tell you that information and providing information has been the common thread for every single one of these stakeholder meetings. There is a disconnect on so many different levels. So I'm going to ask a question. Where do you guys go for information? Where do people look to for information? What's the first thing you think of when you want to get information on grooming or what's happening at Shady Rest? Where do you guys go? Google. Okay.
What do you Google? What term do you use to Google? No, but seriously, what do you search for? And so you would search for
grooming times, places, Mammoth Lakes.
well, the Welcome Center.
The tourism site or the visitors? Okay.
So if I want to know specifically about the Shady Rest trails, I actually tend to go to Facebook because Casey and Friends of the Inyo do a pretty good job of keeping it updated. If I want to know, if I'm going out to Obsidian Dome and I want to know if the girls are groomed out there, I'm probably stopping in at the Welcome Center because it's really difficult to find online whether or not that's been groomed.
Paige, my answer to that is, after all of the money and the beautiful website that was created for Mammoth Trails, my hope would be that we would get to the point with our relationship with the Forest Service partners where we could put updated information on there without jumping through all the necessary hoops. And then each one, from the Mammoth Tourism website to the Town of Mammoth Lakes website to the Mammoth Recreation website, would have a link to that site that was intended to do exactly that. But somehow, to me, it's not where you go for information. It's how do you create the partnership where everybody's not protecting their own silo to allow that flow of information to happen, because that's the choke point. There's one agency in control of any information that goes out, and maybe it should be that way. I won't argue that point here, but the fact is, everything stops at their front door before it can make it out. Rick Laborde, that's our groomer operator, could certainly put on the Mammoth Trails website the days, probably a day before, you're right, before he's going to groom any specific trail. But by the time you get permission, you go to the administrator and he gets permission from the Forest Service and then permission from the town, and it makes it to the website, the trail's been groomed for 2 days. So the information choke point is that we can't have a what would you call a web administrator, that whoever's putting the stuff on our page, he's not allowed to do it.
He's not allowed, but we do have a process that we would need to streamline to get him in touch with the appropriate person to say, email so-and-so, and that could be updated instantaneously. But I just heard 4 different websites and a lot of, you got one that you look to?
Well, I just, a kind of broader question is how many people actually check. I know if I got Saturday off, I'm going to be on Saturday. If it's good, it's good. If it's groomed, it's groomed. If it's not, it's not. And that's
Stealing
just
from
my
it.
Saturday.
That's where I was going.
That's most of us what we do.
So the locals understand that, right? We just go outside and look and go, yeah, it's snowing, I'm good. Where do our visitors go? We've just talked about 4 different sites. Where are we directing them? We have to have a consistent message to provide this information. We have good sources, but they're inconsistent. We're not given the same
Like,
direction.
even going to Shady Rest, you guys just set this, I had to ask the girl, because you guys handed this out to me. I'm like, do I need, Wi-Fi in a meeting? But it seems like Wi-Fi is everywhere. So even if you had a camper in Shady Rest over the summer, why can't you add that to your site? Like, the Mammoth Lakes Visitor Center, if you have all that information in the campsite, when the guy drives in, like, oh, hey honey, if you need anything, here's I don't know if you guys give free Wi-Fi, it seems like everybody in the world does now, but you could say, here's our website, if you have any questions, off hours.
Which website?
Where that little building, the Welcome Center website?
So all the QR codes go to Mammoth Trails, don't
Right,
they?
so maybe it's Mammoth Trails, but then that's the tour.
Including the QR code that's on the current map.
Sure, and we have QR codes and they all direct to Mammoth Trails, but people look for the tourism site, or if you Google Town of Mammoth Lakes, you're gonna get the town website, so it's.
When I moved here 5
bringing
years
things
ago,
together.
I did the Town of Mammoth Lakes, and I did bounce around that thing when I was down south before I moved up here. Once I got here, I didn't necessarily need that.
Yeah, so firstly, I'm a web guy, that's what I do for a living, so not to take stuff away from web, but I think the vast majority of our tourists, they're looking for this information, are really going to the service industry. They're asking their waiters, they're asking their bartenders, when they're coming into town, they check in the hotels, they're asking the front desk agents, and those are the people that are saying, hey, where's the fun spot tomorrow, what we're screwing, where should I go cross-country ski? That's the face of the community. They're not going online trying to find 5 different websites. I mean, some of them are, but
So the lodging and service industry also needs to articulate the same message as our tourism and recreation managers.
Well, and the lodging and tourism people ought to have a centralized online location where they can check every morning and say, oh, okay, this trail's not being groomed today, or it was groomed last night.
I want to switch gears a little bit. We've talked about, over snow. We've talked about Nordic, fat biking, the new kid on the block, and some of this information stuff. What have we missed? What else is going on at Shady Rest that we should be talking about?
Well, we kind of mentioned the dog walking, but we haven't recognized the fact that the snowshoe or the cross-country do not have to stick to the groomed part. They can go wherever they want because those devices allow that. And so when you say, yes, the visitors are going to stay within the trails because they're afraid of the forest. But, anybody else out there can move between the trails and things like that, so that there's actually a larger area that snowshoe and cross-country can use in the park between the visitor center and the park. Just that needs to be recognized. Yeah, not skate skiers, classic
Or the backcountry skis, there's kind of a mixed breed now.
Right.
Get you out
Yeah.
there. You mentioned dog walkers. Is that outside of the, as far as the pets are concerned, the pedestrians?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Any snowboarding people out there?
You have ski jurors that have their dogs tow them. I found them all the way out at the Bald Mountain Warming Hut. You have joggers at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've met them on the trail. The number of users of that trail system, once it became a groomed trail system, it's creating new sports.
You build
Fat
it, they
biking.
will come.
Yeah.
How about putting little boards and build a gazebo with water so we can play a little hockey?
We're working on hockey. We got that.
I know that, I'm just saying. I think it'd be cool.
Okay.
I know the kids would dig it.
Snoopy Pond.
What's that?
Snoopy Pond.
Well, that's totally different. That's for the big city.
Okay. What
Is
other?
there any sledding going on out there?
It's pretty hot.
I think there has been. One of the times when I was out there this winter, because you can get all the way out to the park, it looked like people had parked there and used some of what are called where the path closest to the trail gets steep, that there was some indication that people had been sledding or dishing there.
Some impromptu sledding.
Yeah.
The place where I've seen people try to sled out there is off the back side of the, I should have brought my pointer too, off the back side of the fields, the other side.
Over here?
No, you were at the right fields, straight back, straight back there. The problem is there's a fence there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they
stop.
right down, that's exactly right, they do stop.
Breaks.
But if we're going to encourage, it's really not adequate for snowboarding.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the part that's across from the tiny little skateboard park where there is some steepness that
There is
people
some hill,
over there.
yeah.
Yeah, there was some, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody there.
No,
I've seen
on
anybody.
On the other side of the
On this side.
On the left side.
What's the fence for?
On the south side, yeah, in there, yeah. There was some evidence this winter of people dishing or sledding over there.
Sledding into the road.
I've seen people on the side.
Well, no, it drops down and then it's flat before it gets to the paved roads.
What other uses are you guys seeing out there that?
Tricking.
People comment.
I've gone out there and tried to find the frisbee golf course and
In the wintertime?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun. I did it up in Tahoe. One of the courses stay open up there in the winter. A fun activity if the conditions are right.
Sunny slopes.
Well, we don't have any baskets or anything out
Right,
there.
exactly.
It's a rustic course.
There were for a while. Did the baskets all disappear from behind the fields out there?
As far as I know.
Somebody poached it and put up a whole course out there several years ago, I know.
Yeah.
Well, there's a course right here, there's an easel trail right on this side.
Right.
But obviously, nothing's really marked, it's hitting a tree. The distance, and hopefully finding the tee box. And there's another one that's farther up. Same deal. It's hiking with frisbee, it's fun.
Right.
That's what it is.
There are also people ski joring behind snowmobiles and snowboarding. You see that all the time going out to groom trails from there. You know, 2 or 3 guys sometimes hanging onto a rope off behind a snowmobile to get access out.
Sure.
Which becomes an issue. It's something else that needs, I don't want to restrict anybody, you guys all know that. But it needs education because when you're cutting across the trail and someone's coming the other direction, it does create a bit of an issue.
Especially with 3 or fanned out wide.
I heard a couple comments about getting out to June and kind of interregional connectivity. How do you feel, Ono County's?
Yeah, that's a huge issue for us because the rest, Mammoth has got a thriving winter business, of course, and June Lake is not too bad usually. But the connectivity, to make this a trails destination, I really think that that's a focus that we need to work on. That we can travel the Eastern Sierra, essentially.
And that's even part of the lake. Like I ride my bike out there all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the places too. Like there's not enough labeling. Like you can have your June Lake Blue, but it's not enough for the tourist that comes up here who just doesn't quite have it.
June Lake used to be far better connected than it is today. And without looking into the future, it was chosen to create the access route along what was the old OHV, OSV mountain bike trail without mitigating that by creating another trail. I used to ride my snowmobile to the Tiger Bar for lunch. But now to do that, I've got to jump up on top of the ridge and then come down a pretty vertical south-facing slope. So I would love to see a little late to get mitigation money from the road, but I would love to see that trail somehow reimagined so you can get around the back side of the lake. The front side's non-starter, it's too hard. But there are ways, I think, to create that trail, and I would love to help someone work on that. That would be great. Single track in the summer for mountain bike and motorcycle and groomable or at least rideable in the wintertime for.
And I haven't always taken the same route to get there, so I was thinking the person that could get lost, that now gets stranded without enough water that went on a ride a little too long.
Sure.
Because nothing's really marked out there.
The other issue with warmer winters that we're experiencing is elevation, right, and accessing snow during our regular winters. Places like Sonora Pass and the Bridgeport Winter Recreation Area, which is actually the only wilderness area in the country that allows snowmobiling. But that is spectacular terrain, and they get feet of snow. So again, that could be a fat bike destination. There's Levitt Lake up there. It's absolutely beautiful. Very, very, very secret as far as it's not really well known. But as far as the rest of the county goes, those kinds of winter recreational opportunities is something we really are anxious to help our communities, have more of a year-round business too.
So we definitely hold that conversation for individual.
You can go to ways where it's fairly flat.
And to connect them too with public transit. To be able to do point to point and then know that you don't have to shuttle a car when you come back. for bikers, for Nordic skiers. That would just be an incredible opportunity, both for locals and for tourists.
They're kind of like what you were mentioning earlier, Hayes, about, the trolley up to the mud system, so people can take bikes up and then come back down with like this path there. So it's good stuff too.
Excellent. Okay, so we're running up on our time. We have about 5 minutes left. Any closing thoughts? Anyone who hasn't spoken that we should make speaking?
Just wondering, I know a lot of people bring their dogs out there. Is there anything kind of like official as a way to kind of set it as like a winter dog park area?
A dog park, winter dog park area?
Or just any, I know not even winter specific, but we really don't have a dog park in Mammoth. It's very ambiguous as to where it's legal to have your dog on leash and off leash, and it's kind of.
That's something we have to deal with because it is a park, so dogs would have to be on leash, but it's something that, through a process, that can be changed. So we'll put that on the list for consideration.
Hayes, I had a quick question. So, and you may not be able to answer this, but I know that a lot of what we end up talking about here ends up kind of butting up against NEPA, Forest Service process. And I'm wondering if there's a way, or how do we all get involved in helping you navigate that process as a town?
Going back to when we started, we're right here at the Winter Summit. We're going to synthesize all these comments that we should be frantically typing out. We're going to see what we have as far as recommendations for the Forest Service, Town Council, and then we're going to navigate that process. If we just go and make these changes, address these deficiencies, then we'll take it to council and seek recommendations. If they say yes, go for it, then we'll follow whatever process it takes to get there. So, and if we do have to butt up against the NEPA process, then we'll have to come back to the public again as part of that process.
One thing to mention too is that as these sessions are overlapping, all these notes are overlap too, because you talked about information and how we shared that. That was at 1:30 to 2:30. The next one is snow management, which very quickly we're going to try to go through kind of the mechanics of what we do in town and what else other people do. But right away we're going to get back to he's going to describe with Joel, groom trails, what are we going to do, what can we do on the town. So all these are going to come together.
Right. So when we synthesize these drafts,
I like that where it's all come together.
Hey, the other thing I'd like to mention from motorized, and maybe somebody already has, the importance of access back to 203 if the staging area is going to be out of town. Access McDonald's, access the RV park, access. That is a really important access issue for that group. The other thing that I would hope we would get over some point, I know the town council in the past has given staff action to move on it, and it's on Mammoth Trails site, not site, but radar, is access under the tunnel along the bicycle route to join the Sherwin side with this side of the trail system. And I think that would be a positive for fat bikers, cross-country skiers, and snowmobilers alike. It is an area that's not getting used by anyone at the moment.
right. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. We went through a process, Joel did, to get a change of our operations to groom out that section of multi-use path for fat bikers or walkers or basically any type of non-motorized. And what I was saying is by the time we got that, there wasn't enough snow for us to run our equipment around that loop. We were trying to test that out to get a real feeling for what people were actually doing out there. We wanted to do some real world data collection. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out with the time. But yeah, absolutely, access is critical.
Grooming is the main issue. And if we can make it a multi-use, as the Shady Rest Trail was, then I'm sure those of us in the motorized community would have no problem going to the Forest Service and asking them to add it to the grooming program. And then we create additional access for all without having to reinvent the wheel and come up with a whole lot more money.
I hope you were at subpart C conversation earlier, Phil.
I was.
Going into both your comments, especially David's, as these things go toward the Forest Service for decisions, NEPA process, what will stop projects or any of these ideas is when there are conflicts. And so when the non-motorized and motorized communities, all these user groups can come together to a consensus, that's how we will be able to do projects. So that's the value of this part of the summit, really. But, to really bring things to the Forest Service and have them succeed, it has to be really all of us saying relatively the same thing together.
All right, well, I think we're just about out of time. We're going to be moving into snow management and grooming and all this, so stick around. Appreciate everyone coming, appreciate all the great comments.